before your brother goes and chooses his bedroom, run upstairs, see what bedroom you fancy, and then we can see if your mum and dad will let you have that bedroom. So he ran upstairs, and by the time we got in there, he'd already chosen his bedroom, and there was a bed in there, and he was so excited that there was a bed in this bedroom. I don't think he'd ever slept in a bed before, to be honest with you. So he was saying, there's a bed. I said, do you want Bob to leave the bed behind for you? He said, will you do that? I said, let's go and ask him. So he went in the other room, pulling on Bob's coattails. I said, Bob. He said, will you leave the bed behind? Bob said, of course I will, you can have the bed. So I was so excited that that's basically what sold the house. The children sold the house to the parents. So they moved in. Let's give us some numbers, Mesud, because we've got a lot to get through.
£7,000 deposit, they moved in, £805 a month. We jumped into this deal because the fact that GE money, Bob was in arrears, but it was a very, very cheap mortgage. So we knew that, okay, we can make a great amount of money from cash flow. So we just jumped into the deal and decided, okay, we're going to buy it because we're going to make a lot of money from the cash flow. It doesn't matter if it's a negative equity, and it doesn't matter if we had to pay the arrears. So £7,000 up front. We were taking £250 cash flow. That cash flow is going up to £480 now because they went back to standard variable rate. So £7,000 up front. Over a 60-month period, we're going to make £15,000 just on cash flow, net cash flow.
The reason why we use 60 months or 5 years on an average is because when you move somebody into a property that is unable to get a mortgage, in other words, they move into the property, they exchange contracts and they pay us by instalments, the view is that they will go and get a mortgage at some time in the future. And it takes between 3 and 5 years for them to sort out their problems, whatever their problems are, to get down the bank and get a mortgage. So all of our numbers are based on an average of 5 years. Some of them go for longer, some of them are shorter. The longer the period, the more cash flow we make. But our examples this evening are based on 5 years to give you an idea of what sort of profits we're making on the property. So finish off some numbers, we've got some more.
£20,000 backhand. Okay. Remember, when we're selling properties on instalment contract, we're able to charge £10,000 to £15,000 above market value. Although we are taking on a property that may not have any equity or maybe negative equity, we're still able to charge 10 to 15% above the market value because the buyer is not paying all that money today. So they're moving in with £7,000 deposit. So that's the important bit. Where else you can buy a property with £7,000?
So back end,
£20,000 back end, total profits, £42,000 from property.
cost us
£1,800 just towards the roof.
£1,800, but we got that back from the £7,000 that we took up front.
Correct.
And how many tenants did we move in?
Zip.
And how much did we spend on the property?
Nothing.
So for zero cost, we've made £42,000 on average over the next 5 years on that one property. And we show you a final babysit, another Bob in Dartford, who just basically didn't want to be a landlord anymore. There was a tenant in this property. He'd been trying to sell it for nearly 12 months, and again he was just being offered silly prices. His priority was to get the full price for the property. So we said, okay, well if we pay you full price for this property, can we have some flexibility around the timescale in which we deliver you the money? He didn't need all the money straight away, so he said, yes, as long as I get the full price, I'll take the money over a period of time. That's what we agreed with him. So again, explain about the people we moved in. We've got a lot to get through.
Well, we took £5,000 upfront from our buyers. They were a nice couple in the medical industry, trainee doctor and a nurse. So they were again they were new in the country, 5 years being in the UK, and wanted to buy something. They were also letting in Lewisham, and they love the fact that they can move in at £5,000. They have their own house. So they moved in, and actually they had £11,000 in savings, but we told them, look, you can spend the rest of your money actually on refurbishing the place. You can strip the wallpapers, put nice new wallpapers in, and you can recarpet the property. So they love the fact that they didn't need to spend all that money, and they can move in £5,000 deposit. Bob's property, although we agreed to pay the full market value, he had massive cash flow. His mortgage was with JP Morgan. It was, I think, 2.25%. So we had great margin on it. So after our buyers pay £799 a month, we have £480 net cash flow. So over a 60-month period again, that is £28,800 net profit.
How much are we going to take the back end?
Well, actually we're going to take £37,000 back end because we managed to sell the property well above the market value. And after we pay the £15,000 that we promised the seller, on completion we're going to have £22,000 net back end. So
Mesud, how much did we pay for this?
nothing.
How many tenants did we move in?
None.
How much voice did we have?
No.
How much is the deal worth?
£55,000.
So, there must be a lot of people around that own property that no longer want to live in that property, and all they want to do is just pass on the problem to somebody else. Does anybody know what a lemon is? Hands up. My friend in the front knows what a lemon is. Well, actually, a lemon, perhaps you could explain, Mesud, what do we call a lemon?
Well, lemon is a property that you don't want to own. Usually, you don't want to own it because it's either negative equity, upside down, or it's a negative cash flow. That means it costs money.
They served a lemon, don't know what to do with it. There may be some of you in the audience this evening that have a lemon. I know I certainly have some lemons. That's a property basically that the mortgage, does that say mortgage is less than the mortgage repayments? Yes, so your rental income, say £500 a month, and your mortgage payments may be £600 a month. That means that every month you have to take £100 out of your pocket. I'm certainly doing that on some of my properties. Some of those new builds that I bought off plan, that I got cash backs on, I'm now suffering. And there's plenty of other people I know that are suffering also. It could be because of costly service charge and maintenance and ground rents. It could be a problem with the actual finance on the property. You could have a high interest rate. And of course there's an exposure to interest rates. So if you've got a property that's cash flowing at the moment, but you only need a 0.25% rise in the rate or 0.5% rise in the rate, and all of a sudden you're in negative cash flow. Service charge, ground rent, all of a sudden you have to put your hand in your pocket every month and find the difference. For those people that bought a lot of new builds off plan back in 2004 through to 2007, those people are suffering today. I know because I'm one of those. So within my portfolio, I have a good quality portfolio, but within there I have a lot of new builds in city centres.
Ladies and gentlemen, recently Santander increased their standard variable rate from 4.24 to 4.74. Well, that all of a sudden created 40,000 negative cash flow properties. Bank of Ireland increased their standard variable rate recently. So, watch out.
Is this anybody today in the audience? Does anybody relate to that? Is anybody subsidising a mortgage? Okay, well look, this is a property that I purchased in Manchester. It's such a good deal that I bought two. And it was typical, you never saw the property, it was just purchased off plan. And I'd never been to Manchester, in fact I've never been to Manchester yet, so I don't know what it's like there. But I bought two and there was £12,000 cash back off each deal, so I've got 24,000 in the bank and two properties. Brilliant. The problem is today, is that I've got a lemon, I don't know what to do with it. So
why is that?
Sorry?
Why is that?
Because I'm in negative cash flow and I'm in negative equity. So if I put it on the market, nobody is going to pay me what I owe on it.
How does that make you feel?
Like a lemon.
Let me give you a little bit on the financials on this deal. Well, for a fact I know that this property was let for £525 a month. And the current mortgage with NRA was costing the interest only £545 a month. That is already £28 in negative cash flow, okay? But remember, Doug is the landlord, so he has to pay the service charge, he has to pay the ground rent as well. That's another £100 on top. £120 in negative cash flow. Okay, this property has voids, it has repairs. He recently changed, what, the dishwasher? How much did that cost you?
Yes, always something changing. White goods. The trouble is that new builds come with white goods, and once the white goods are in the property, you have to change them every now and again.
Also, letting fees, estate agent fees, every time you have to pay, what, 2-3 weeks letting fees, somebody to let the property for you. Well, let's be generous, this property was costing about £150 every month. £150 January, £150 February, every month, £150. So I said to Doug, Doug, no point keeping this, mate, we have to get rid of it. He said, "So what can you do?" I went on Rightmove, checked the values of the property. Well, it was worth only £99,000. There was another flat for sale in the block, £99,000, and it wasn't sold for the last 6 months. I said, "No, this is even less, worth less than £99,000." And he had a mortgage of 138,500. 138,500. £40,000 negative.
So come on, let's have some numbers. We've got a lot to get through.
Okay. We sold the property for £143,000. Okay, that was the full purchase price. But you can buy this property £5,000, mortgage in, no mortgage required. Total purchase price £143,000, £807 a month. Right, Doug's mortgage cost £545. Okay, 807 minus 545 is about £260. Remember, we don't move tenant buyers in, we move buyers in. They exchange contract, follow payment schedule, and complete over a period of time. So Doug is not responsible for service charge and ground rent anymore. He's not responsible, he doesn't have to issue ASTs every 12 months.
Thank you.
So for that reason, it makes it much more profitable. The buyer pays the service charge. They pay £807 a month, they pay service charge and the ground rent on top because it is their property. They repair it, they look after it.
Come on, how much are we making on this?
£260 cash flow, over 60 months, £15,600.
Back end?
Well, we're not going to make nothing on it because in 5 years' time it will be the same amount that we owe to the bank.
How much is still worth?
£20,000. It's not worth 20, it's worth 60 because we're going to pay 40.
£20,000 profit on the property that was in negative equity by £40,000. So we had the £40,000 back. This is worth £60,000 on a property that I had no chance of selling. There are so many people out there today that own these properties that can't sell them, or they don't know what to do with them, and they can't afford to keep putting their hand in their pocket every month and paying the mortgage and subsidising the tenants. It's a good opportunity for us as investors to go out and speak to estate agents, advertise, speak to investors, other investors, speak to people about their negative equity properties. There's huge amounts of money to be made. This next property, go through very quickly, was just simply a one-bedroom ex-council flat that I purchased with the no money down system that I use. So I ended up with a mortgage on there of about £76,000. Problem is the tenant upstairs, sorry, there's noise going on back there, put me off for a minute. Wore these hobnail boots and he had no carpets. So he was making a lot of noise and he had a large dog. So I kept losing my tenants because of that. There was also a garden there. Every time my tenant moved out, I had to send somebody in to cut the grass. So I was suffering because I couldn't let the property continually. I had a lot of voids and a lot of repairs. So we just decided to move it on. The value of the property is £100,000, and Mesud found somebody to tell us about, what's her name?
Gillian. Gillian, she came with £25,000 deposit. She had nice good savings from inheritance from her parents, but she was a music teacher, self-employed, and she was working most of the time part-time in private lessons. So her probable income was probably about £1,000. So she needed a place where she could put a large deposit in, didn't need to get a mortgage, and she could have nice, affordable monthly payments. So I said, Gillian, okay, if you put £25,000 deposit, we can reduce your monthly payments to £560. She said, great, that's what I can afford. When can I move in? I said, well, we've got a tenant in there now, but the tenancy is going to finish in 2 months' time, we can move in then. I said, well, can I leave a holding deposit? I said, yeah, £2,000, you can move in May. So we moved there last May. So we took £25,000 deposit from Gillian. Okay, £560 we're taking every month from her. Doug's current mortgage cost £260, so £300 cash flow every month. Over a 60-month period, that is £18,000. So £25,000 deposit, £18,000 from cash flow. But remember, we sold this property for £125,000, nearly 25% above the market value. So that is going to give us £18,000 backhand profit if the buyer decides to cash out in year 5.
So the total profit on this is £61,000 from a property that I was struggling to earn any money from at all, because I kept losing my tenants. So it's not necessarily a lemon that's in negative equity or negative cash flow. It's just a lemon that I don't really want to own anymore. I'd prefer somebody else to own it. So Gillian is very happy in there now, and she's improved the property, and she's going to cash out probably within the next 3 to 4 years. I wanted to show you this one, Sky Studios, which is in SE18, which is in Silvertown.
Yes.